One of the things we found is that 82% of the people that we surveyed said that they spend at least 8 hours a week just in their email inbox. That's almost a full day. The people we spoke to are working 45-hour weeks. So, we're talking 9 hours each day. And if you're spending 8 hours a week just on email, reading your email, responding to email, that's taking a whole day away. We have another 5 hours a week in unnecessary meetings. That's not even including the necessary ones. So I think a lot of what needs to happen is first is recognizing the issue, right? Small business owners need to know that this is a serious situation for them. If they want to grow their business, they need to recognize and start taking things off of their plate that maybe they can pass on to others.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the Small Business Black Holes, the podcast that shines a light on the hidden challenges of scaling a business. Hosted by Pentz, each episode explores the critical shifts entrepreneurs make as they grow beyond $1 million, $5 million, even $30 million, and move from brute force to sustainable professional growth. Stay with us as we uncover what it really takes to escape the black holes of business and scale with intention.
Hey, we are back on Small Business Black Holes. Today we have Chad Brooks, editor-in-chief of business.com. Welcome to the pod, Chad. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to chat today.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about what you're up to at business.com.
Yeah, so at business.com, we really focus on trying to bring a lot of resources to small businesses and provide them with advice and actionable resources that they can use to help launch and grow their business. And we provide, stuff on, financing and HR software and all of that type of stuff that small businesses need. And then we also do a lot of recommendations on software and services so small businesses can get the most out of growing their business. And most recently, we conducted some research kind of looking into productivity of small business owners. And we found some interesting stuff about how small business owners, as you can imagine, are very busy, but not necessarily as productive as they want to be. So I'm excited to talk about that.
All right, let's talk about the domain now. Like, what's the story getting business.com? It's just one of these like late 90s grabs or something like that.
Yeah, so business.com was at one point sold for the largest amount of money ever for a domain. Yes. And that was well before I was here. And, we took over the domain about 8 to 10 years ago. And at that time when we took it over, it was kind of at the bottom of the barrel, I would say. It kind of was super expensive. We got it for probably pennies on the dollar. And when we took it over, it was more of just like a listing type of website where people just listed their business and what they were up to and had a community aspect to it, but it was really in disarray. So we took it over and tried to obviously spend a lot of time cleaning it up and trying to turn it into something that we think is valuable for small businesses and small business owners and business leaders and, everyone who's running those businesses that keeps things going here. I mean, there's so many of them.
And so your business model, is it like affiliate, kind of like you're helping people choose software and things like that? Or
yes, I would say that is our biggest way. That's definitely our business model. I think we have that component obviously of business.com. On the editorial side, we're very impartial and balanced, and we like to recommend what we think is the best. So that's not necessarily who our partners are or who we work with, but we want to make sure that we're doing right by our readers. And so we spend a lot of time. We spend hundreds of hours a year researching different software and services that small businesses really use on a daily basis, stuff like payroll and business phone systems and credit card processing. So we kind of run the gamut. We spend a lot of times kind of getting our hands on this stuff and doing some firsthand research and seeing what we think will work for small business owners. And what we know is that not all small business owners are the same. There's, small business can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And so, there's those micro businesses with just the founder or just the, a one person shop, or there's 5 people or 10 people or 200 people, and all falls in the realm of small businesses. So we try to look at it from a lot of different lenses to make sure that what we're recommending works for different types of people.
Gotcha. So you guys are kind of like the wire cutter of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we try to be for sure. And yeah, we spend a lot of time, like I said, kind of looking at these tools, but also we spend a lot of time trying to think about the questions that small businesses are going to have to run their business. So it's not all our software and service recommendations. We have, thousands of articles across the site about, what is cash flow and basic questions that a small business owner might have. We also have inspirational content about like, I like travel. What kind of businesses would be good for me? Those type of things to just get people thinking. We know that there's a lot of people out there in corporate America who have dreams of going off and starting their own business. And we want to be there for them kind of every step of the way, whether that's in the ideation stage, in the launching stage, or in the growing stage.
Well, I didn't see the horror part of your site though. If they're going to go off to do small businesses, you have to have like the scary part too, right?
Yes, for sure. Yes, we try to make it like we want everyone to know kind of what they're getting into for sure. And this isn't it's not easy to start your own business. I've been here for 15 years writing about this. I spent a couple years before this kind of working with small businesses. So I know the kind of the trials and tribulations that they go through. And I know that it's not always easy and it's tough. And most don't succeed after the first year or year and a half. Most are out of business. So it really takes a lot of hard work and dedication to kind of make it get to where they all want to go.
Yeah, like if you haven't been on, I was just taking a quick look. Like there's stuff up there like what, cash register buying guide, right? Do you get a POS, a cash register, a tablet? There was a thing on mobile wallets. So like what's Google Wallet versus Apple Pay versus Samsung. So like all kind of across the board content about how to run your business, how to select technology. I was on the technology section, but so pretty broad group of resources. So that's pretty great.
We try to break it up into sections like business planning and technology and human resources and finance and marketing. Those are the key areas that small business owners are going to focus on. And but what we know is that they can't do it all at once. So we want to be that resource that they keep coming back to over and over again, so that they know they're going to get good advice from us.
All right, let's talk about productivity. So you said they're busy, but not necessarily always productive. So what was the finding there?
Yeah. So we've kind of it's a bit of a what we would call kind of knowing how many small businesses are out there in the in the US. It's kind of a productivity crisis if you think about it, with 33 million small businesses in the US. And what we found is that they're working and they're working hard. They're working long hours each week, but they're not doing the things that they really what they want to do. They're stuck in grinding away at the tasks that they don't want to do and never getting to the stuff that really probably excited them about running a business in the first place, which is growing and taking it to those next levels. They're stuck doing things like email and spending time in meetings and just going from task to task to task. And it's really kind of taking a drain on them in terms of what they're able to accomplish and where they're able to take their business.
Yeah. And so have you guys developed any kind of solutions to that or ideas that they should be looking at?
I think I think when we think about it, so one of the things we found is that 82% of the people that we surveyed said that they spend at least 8 hours a week just in their email inbox. And that's almost, that's a full day, almost a full day. These, the people we spoke to are working 45-hour weeks. So, we're talking 9 hours each day. And if you're spending 8 hours a week just on email, reading your email, responding to email, that's taking a whole day away. We have another 5 hours a week in unnecessary meetings. That's not even including the necessary ones. And then another 9 hours a week, just context switching from this to that to this. I don't know about you, but I'm often sitting at my, computer. I've got the notifications are popping up in the right-hand corner and I'm working on something, but then I see an email pop up or I see a Slack notification pop up, and now my brain is on to whatever that is. And now it's going to take me a while to get back. So I think a lot of what needs to happen is first is recognizing the issue, right? Small business owners need to know that this is a serious situation for them. If they want to grow their business, they need to recognize and start taking things off of their plate that maybe they can pass on to others. There's we found a significant issue with wanting to delegate. And I totally get that. The small business owner, this is their thing. This is their baby, so to speak. And they have a hard time passing tasks off to other people. So while I think one of the things we found is that while you might think that the small business owner can do things perfectly 100%, right? But maybe 90% is good enough and you can pass that off and you can get some of that time back. Just dedicating more time, turning off your emails, I'm going to spend this many hours each day thinking about growth and innovation and how do I move to the next level, as opposed to just letting the day come to them and tackling all the fires that they tackle on a daily basis.
Yeah. Like one of the things we talk about a lot at Owner RX, where I am, is helping owners figure out what they're really good at. So we'll call it, the thing that gives them energy or their superpower, whatever term you want, and their zone of genius, right? And usually for small business owners, I find that's usually sales or marketing of some sort, right? Because that's how they got where they are. And then they've got all these other things that are coming at them that aren't that, right? That they might be, as you said, they might be better than everybody else, but it's still taking them away from their superpower. So even 90, 85% from somebody else is better than you not spending time in your superpower. And you often find owners selling marketing, then getting a bunch of business, then running over and trying to fix operations, and they stop selling. And and they're kind of, as you say, like maybe at a broader time frame, context switching back and forth. And it's always a race for them.
Yeah, I mean, we found that the people that we surveyed found that, they lose about 6 hours a week just fixing or working around inefficiencies. And, when you start to add all of these things up, it leaves very little time. So while 41% say growth and growing is their top priority, only 35% are able to dedicate any time to that during the week. And those that are only spending about 4 hours a week on that growth piece. And you're spending twice as much time in your email as you are on probably what excites you the most is trying to grow and get to that next level and build your business.
Right. So recognition is first step. What else do you guys recommend?
Yeah, and I think it's recognition and then being deliberate, right? You got to be deliberate about making the time, and that requires you to make sure that you are not micromanaging your team. You want to make sure the more time you spend micromanaging, the less time you have to do the big picture stuff. So if you want to trust your team and trust your team that you've helped them get to the point where they are, where they can do the things that you don't need to do anymore. And so making sure that you're delegating properly. It's one thing to say you're going to delegate, but you really have to trust that your team is going to get it done. And so if you're able to delegate some of those, day-to-day tasks that are, organizational type things that, maybe it's some HR issues that you have an HR team for, or maybe it's some IT issues that someone else on the team can handle. You need to let them do that so you can focus on the other things.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of like a launch into sort of the AI conversation. Like, did you guys look at that at all? Like how that might change the game for them?
Yeah, not specifically for this piece, but obviously we know what AI is, it's a huge it's there. I think there's been a kind of a slow to adopt maybe for a lot of people just out of fear. And I think what I've found is that we need to move beyond the fear. There's a lot of worry, I think, from a lot of people, probably maybe not necessarily small business owners, but leaders of small businesses and business leaders, that AI is coming for their job and coming for their workplace. And I think what I've found is that it's not closing things in on us, it's opening things up for us. And I think, when we can start to implement AI in efficient ways and take some of those tasks off of us, especially for these small businesses that don't have a huge staff, right? It's easy to say delegate to your staff, but we found that 80% of the small businesses that we surveyed said they're understaffed. So who are you delegating to if that's the case? But with AI, it's not a staff, right? It's a tool, and you need to be using that tool efficiently and making the most out of it. And this isn't something I'm talking about just like writing emails. This is using this in an effective way to help run your business. Maybe it's AI agents that are helping run your payroll, or AI agents that are helping to with your CRM software. There are ways that AI can make your business run smoother, and you don't have to be afraid that it's going to come for your job. It's going to open things up for you to do the things you want to do, to redefine how you're working. Is an exciting time, I think. For it should be exciting for people.
Yeah, no, I think it's a barrier remover, right? That's how I look at it. It's an extender of your ability to think and share whatever your wisdom is with the world, right?
For sure. And I think when, I look at it for us, and, how we try to use it, and just like, how can this take the kind of the grunt work off of our plate? And it's happening in the background. It's happening where we don't have to do anything. So when it's like an extension of your team that isn't using up any of your time. And so it's using up no one's time. And, you can be doing one thing, the AI can be doing another thing, in the background. And when you're ready, it's done for you, or it's ready for you to approve, or whatever that might be. It has taken hours off of your plate that now you can dedicate and put into the time for the things that you want to be doing.
Yeah, like we're testing a tool right now. We're going to come out with a little review on for bookkeeping, where it goes into, like, we have a Mercury bank account. So, like, it's got better. Well, I mean, you have Plaid now that gets into most bank accounts. Goes into your Stripe, and it has all our credit cards in there in Mercury, and it will go in and auto. It doesn't use work. So there's some that are on top of QuickBooks. This is a new general ledger, and it just auto categorizes your transactions, right? So someone who's not brilliant in bookkeeping can kind of just review it and be like, yeah, that sounds right. And it's done, right? I mean, it's pretty amazing. So I can't say it's perfect yet, because we just started testing it, but it sounds like it's going to get there.
Well, that's what I found. I mean, I am a writer by trade, and it's technical knowledge is probably, one of my weaker areas. But what I found is, what's nice about these AI tools is that you can really talk back and forth. And if you don't understand something, I just say, I don't understand what you're asking me to do. Please explain. And next thing you know, I've got a full explanation. It's giving me the knowledge on the fly that I need to run these tools and create new things. And, we've tested it with, creating new tools for the website. Maybe it's a marketing planner or something like that. And I'm no coder by any stretch, and it's helping me code and learn all these things that I never would have been able to do. And so I look at it, like you said, as an extender of helping me grow in my role and do new things. And I think it's exciting. And I think if everyone can just push right beyond, just over that edge of fear to get to the other side, I think people will be really excited about what the opportunities are there.
Yeah. I remember this when I had a lawyer back when I first started my other business, and it's like 2010, 2011. And I remember him telling me, like, you've got to go patch. There's a patch you need to put on your email. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, your email server, you need to put this patch on it because there's a security breach. I'm like David, like, we have, we're on Google. Like, we don't have any server, right? This guy didn't even have hosted Exchange. He had like a server in the closet. And I just remember just kind of looking at him like, what are you talking about? I think that's, we're going to see that like 100 times with AI, where some people are just using it and they're doing things that, the other people are doing. So like I had this the other day, where another thing I'm seeing people starting to do is, like, instead of, before you send a proposal to a client, why don't you have the AI take the persona of different people on the team you're presenting to and run it through a couple iterations? So, like, I've seen this where people have built prompts that will auto do it for you. And like, you can get the skeptical CFO with the excited marketing person and the CEO who's resource constrained, and kind of run a simulation about how you're going to get it. And you could be on like version 3000 of your proposal when somebody else has only gotten like their coworker to read it or something.
Right. For sure. I think it's an exciting time. I think, using this type of stuff frees you up to, one of the other things that we saw is taking up a lot of time is this finding the right tools and services for your business. I think it's there there's so much that goes into it, and who wants to spend, the time when they're not working kind of researching different features of a CRM, or saying like, what's the difference between this business phone system or that business phone system? And so one of the things that we're trying to do is really help not only with our, like I talked about, our reviews and our recommendations of these software and services. Is we recently launched business.com plus, which is a free membership program, a loyalty program, so to speak, for our readers and for anybody. It's free, and what it does is it can connect you with an advisor who will help walk you through um, what you need, and they're going to listen to you about your business, and instead of you trying to figure out, they're going to help you figure out which tools are the best ones. And then we've curated a bunch of deals with some of our partners to offer exclusive deals that you might not get somewhere else. And so we're really excited about that, and we just launched that last month, and so we're excited to see how we can continue helping small businesses in a different way.
So Chad, I'm curious, just to pivot a little bit, like just about the media business in general. Like obviously you're a veteran of it. And how do you see it developing? Like you're hearing now, like SEO is kind of, that the clicks through to sites are going way down, and it's a real time like of, disruption with more chats going to I use the Google AI stuff now, and they've caught me because I used to use ChatGPT and Perplexity. Now it's just easier not to open up ChatGPT, click 2 times and then ask. I just use the AI summary. So how is that impacting your industry?
Of course, it's definitely having a huge impact. And, I like to compare this time to, I was around, I started out in newspapers in the late 90s. And at that time, it was this massive switch from, we were all print to the digital world started launching. And it's funny to think back then where there were no like online sites, or we were just, newspapers were just launching these online sites. And from there, I remember the crafty old veteran editors in the newspaper room would be like, the young people would be like, we need to get this online right away. And they'd be like, we need to save this for the paper the next day. Right. And so there occurred that massive shift in the publishing world and in media when we went from focusing on print to now focusing on digital first. And I think we're kind of at another kind of crossroads here where we're going to see a massive shift in how people consume information, especially media and news, and where they get their information from. And like you said, it's going to be from whether it's LLMs like ChatGPT and Claude, or Google, whatever, they're going to continue to build into their search results. And we're going to see that. And I think we're just at the tipping point now where we're all trying to figure out, right? Like, how do we solve for that? Because you're still trying to solve for making sure you're getting in search results with the SEO stuff. But now we're also trying to, how we get into the AI overviews in the search results, or how do we get into ChatGPT?
Have you heard the term GEO yet?
No, not yet.
So that's supposed to be generative engine optimization. I just heard it like last Friday for the first time. So
no, I haven't heard that, but it makes sense. And I think what everyone's trying to figure out is, do all 3 of those things line up? Like, can you do one thing to your content to make sure it still ranks, high for SEO? It can get in the AI overviews and get in the LLMs. Or are we saying we need to do different things with our content to get into each one of those? And I think we're all trying to figure that out on the fly here, and figure out how to do that best. And, we've got a lot of smart people working here, and we're all kind of pushing towards the same goal, but it's definitely an interesting time for sure.
yeah, I mean, I like what I'm hearing is, first of all, a lot of people are going to try the subscription thing, right? If you can, because, you see sites like The Information and things like that, or Ben Thompson on a very specific vertical. And then you hear a lot about potentially like micropayments or something like that being like the LLM can do, instead of doing like an ad, it can do a little auction on the content. So if your content answers the best, because like what happens right now is if somebody clicks on an ad, I guess, or is served up something, there's like a tiny auction that takes place that's like 200 milliseconds. And they could do something similar for the best content. I could pay you like a fraction, right? If that satisfies a search request. But the question is, can you get there before the whole business model collapses?
Right. I think, I think we will get there before, I'm not concerned. I'm not worried that our whole business model is going to collapse, but it's obviously something that we're all hyper focused on, right? And making sure that we're doing the best to move our business forward. And that means, embracing these tools, and how do we embrace what we have, and how do we become as efficient as we can be to make sure that we're spending the time that we need focused on how do we grow this business. And it kind of leads back to kind of where we started is making sure we're putting our efforts into the right place, and making sure that we're being productive in the right areas. And I think we are here at business.com, but it's definitely it's an interesting time, I would say, for sure, in this world. And it's
May you live in interesting times, right? The old Chinese
yes,
proverb.
for sure. Yeah.
Curse, actually. That was a curse. Well, Chad, this has been awesome. Obviously, people should go check out the site, business.com, look at the new membership. And then, like, if they want to reach out to you, is there some way to do that? Or
Yeah, they can find my bio on business.com. They can also email me if they want. It's chbrooks it's cbrooks, sorry, at business.com.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Well, Chad, thanks so much for being on the pod. Yep. We appreciate it.
This has been great. I really appreciate the time. It was a great conversation.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the Small Business Black Holes podcast with Alan Pentz. For more insights on mastering the new game, follow at Pentz, that's APENTZ on X, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, in today's world, you don't follow the rules, you write them.